That's an interesting question. I don't think there is a secure job. I think when people think they have a secure job, they just fall harder when it becomes insecure. Um, it's it's just a job. I mean, you have to realize that advertising in Italy is not exactly what you would call a secure job. Sure, it was a full-time job. I did have a check at the end of every month, which was nice. And I guess I transitioned into it slowly. It took about a year, a couple of years maybe. I kept working in advertising as a freelancer while doing photography gigs on the side at the same time. And when I had enough clients to be exhausted at the end of each day because I didn't have enough hours in a day, then I decided to get rid of the advertising job as a graphic designer and just become a full-time photographer. Um, the hardest part was thinking of myself as a photographer in the first place, like actually having the guts to say, I am a photographer, this is what I do, and these are my prices. Especially because I honestly, I think I did suck. And I'm very grateful towards those first clients who were aesthetically challenged enough to hire me rather than a good photographer. For that, thank you, thank you, thank you. I got better with time and experience, and then I got better clients, and then I got better jobs and more money. It's still happening. Like it's not. I haven't made it yet. I doubt I ever will. But I can actually call myself a photographer now. My food comes from photography, which is something that it still amazes me that people are willing to pay for pictures. That is a tough question to me because I don't think that being ethical and being in business are mutually exclusive. Like a lot of unethical people would like to make us think that, but I see a lot of amazing companies doing great work and thriving. I don't think you need to be a shark to be in business. And of course, you probably do need to be a little bit of a jerk if you want to make a lot of money. But the thing is, I care about money in the sense that it allows me to get stuff that I want. And I don't want that much. I don't want a boat. I wouldn't know what to do with a boat. I don't care about like owning 100 houses around the world. I don't care about big, like fancy clothes or stuff that's really expensive. When we started our company, we had a long talk about the kind of life that we wanted to live and how we could make that happen. And for example, we decided to move to Bassano del Grappa, which is a small town in the north of Italy, from Milan, which is like a big town where stuff is happening. And because we would rather be in a place where we can have the kind of lifestyle that we want. It's close to the mountains, we can go hiking, everything is more chill, there's less traffic. And I will go to Milan when I have to work. Of course, at some point you have to make decisions. You might refuse a big job because it would take you away from home for 6 months. And I mean, every time something like that happens, we have a conversation. We decide if it's something that's worth doing or not. Because sometimes they give you a lot of money, but the price you have to pay is bigger. And so I'm not cheap. Like I'm very expensive when it comes to trading my time and the time I spend with my loved ones. those are the things that are like very, very important to me. So being able to drop everything and like go on a road trip with my husband, to me, is worth a lot. And not being able to see my friends for months and months because I'm booked like every day, it's something that I'm not willing to do. Like I've done that for a while, and it's not like it's not me. Like it might like I don't think this is the right way to do things. I do think that it's the right way for me to do things, and my paradise is probably someone else's hell, and vice versa. And most of all, like I decided that I wanted to work with people I respected and that I cared about, and because that's when I make good work. Like I'm really not able to work for people I despise. That's something I realized early on. And if you contact me for a job that I'm technically able to do, but requires me to go against what I believe is right, I will probably be really mediocre. So it's not just about doing what's right for me, it's also about not putting out in the world something that I'm not proud of, because that makes my business work less well, I guess, and it's bad advertisement anyway. And I know, I just realized that every time I worked just for the money, I ended up having to chase the money, which is like really frustrating if you think about it. And every time I did something that I was really passionate about and I really believed was the right thing to do, I ended up getting a lot out of that work. Not necessarily from that specific client or organization or like ONG, but from people who saw that work and like gave me gigs. So to me, in a way, being ethical is the right decision from a business point of view. It's about being true to and coherent with your brand. And if people work with you because you have that kind of approach to things, like if you are not that anymore, like you're kind of starting to lose their interest. And I don't know, it makes sense in my head. I have to say, this kind of things is not something that we usually discuss in a very logical way. I mean, we do discuss about it, but mostly it's about going with your guts and trying to understand if your guts tell you that it's something that's worth doing, and it's usually right. It's so far, at least. Ah, well, first of all, when I started taking photographs, I didn't think I would do that as a job. It was something I did for myself to figure out stuff and to understand the world around me. And I was really worried that once it would become a job, I would lose that. So I was very careful not to forget about that part that to me is really important. And the thing is, in my opinion, a personal project is something that allows you to explore stuff in a way that it wouldn't be possible in a commercial job where you have constraints, and you have a budget, and you have like a deadline that's yesterday, and then you have like a bazillion people like who need specific things from you. While when you're working on a personal project, you get to define your own limitations. You get to decide what's the aim for that project, and it might not be like sell more stuff. And I think like doing a personal project is a way to, well, first of all, keep your craft improving, which is important. Like, you never stop learning, and I'd rather not learn at my clients' expenses. I'd rather like use my own time to test stuff rather than try stuff for a client and screw up the job. And also, I think, in a way, personal projects are like that time where I find out stuff about myself. I don't do that when I'm working. When I'm working, I'm just solving problems, I guess, and answering questions and making sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. While when I'm doing personal projects, I usually get to experiment. I might know where I start from and not know where I end up. And that's a good thing. I like that. And it's something that I don't want to lose with photography. God, Magpies was this thing that was just an itch I couldn't scratch. It's something I've been working on for so long, and then I never found the way to make it work for myself. It was really, really frustrating. And at some point in 2010 or 11, I don't remember, I injured my shoulder and couldn't hold the camera for longer than half an hour, which was like extremely frustrating and scary for a professional photographer. So at that point, we decided to sell a car and a bunch of stuff and move to LA for 3 months, and a little bit. And that sounds like really fancy, but we really could not afford it. We just decided to do it because we wanted to try, and we wanted to spend time in another place. And LA felt like it was far away enough that we could work on our stuff while our clients in Italy were sleeping, which was great actually. And I spent about 9 months in whole working on it, and it wasn't something that I was planning on selling or printing. I decided to put the high-res PDF online for free or for a price that people would decide, which is still possible, like it's still there. And to my surprise, first of all, people were actually giving me money for a PDF, which was insane if you think about it. I'm grateful they did, but probably I would have never done it. And when they started reading it, I started receiving requests for about like when is Magpies, like the printed version of Magpies coming out, and I was answering like I have no idea, like I'm not planning on doing it. I got contacted by 2 different publishers. One was making like really cheap comic books, and the quality wasn't great, and the other one was making like very expensive, gorgeous art books, but they wanted to print it as an art book and I can sell it for like 90 euros, which to me was not something I would be comfortable with, because it's a graphic novel, and the kind of people who read graphic novels are not the kind of people who would spend like $90 on a book. So I decided to crowdfund it, and in a way that if enough people wanted to buy it, then we would print it. If we didn't reach those numbers, then nobody would get hurt. And I put a lot of work into the campaign, and I'm lucky that I'm always surrounded by people who are way more clever and awesome than I am. So my maid of honor has been working like in public relations for a long time. So she took care of press releases and stuff like that. I have two friends in Berlin who are awesome at motion design. They did, they're called like Sara Zampieri and Nicola Scodellaro, and they did a little video, like a book trailer, and friends, family, like everybody started supporting me on this, and it became a thing. Like after a while, it seemed like some people were more interested in having these things happen than even I was. Like it became like a project that wouldn't be possible unless all these people could come together. And that, I think, that's the thing about crowdfunding, and that's what I don't like about crowdfunding today. Like most of the projects I see now, it's stuff that would happen no matter what. And I think it kind of loses that feeling of like doing something together, like this whole thing that something can only be funded if there is a crowd of people coming together and building something. Now it's more used like a marketing campaign, I guess, to make people know about something, or to sell stuff before it's actually available. But I don't know. I honestly have no idea why I managed to raise that much money at that time. The biggest project that I could find that was about the same raised like 3,000 or 4,000 euros, and I was asking for 20,000 because I wanted to print like exactly what I wanted to print. We ended up raising 32,000 dollars. Sorry, and I guess a lot of it was about selecting the rewards carefully and giving people stuff they actually cared about. I see a lot of projects, especially from photographers, they kind of assume that people will love what they do just because it's awesome. And a lot of people like actually bought some of the rewards, and they didn't even care about Magpies. They just wanted the rewards. And that's great for me. Like it's something that I constantly do. I use my commercial projects to fund my personal projects, or the stuff I do for like charities and stuff like that. And this was the same. Like I wanted people to want to buy something, like a portfolio review with me, or a print, or like stuff like that. And those money would be funneled into this other thing. So I guess that's probably the main thing. I wouldn't say so. Like, of course, there are differences. I mean, there's probably a difference between the photography created in Italy and the photography created in, like, say, France or Spain, even, or like northern Italy or southern Italy. But at the same time, like, especially in commercial photography, what I see is a lot of sameness. Like there are standards that spread throughout the world, especially now that we have the internet. We see a lot of the same things, which in a way it's a pity. Like newborn photography in Italy, like today, is basically the same that I see in the US. Like there's nothing different. Like it's the same business model, it's the same photos, it's the same, like it's the same kind of language. It used to be like really different. It became a thing. Wedding photography, like I see a lot of stuff that started in Northern Europe and then became like was exported into the US. I guess, I mean, of course, there are things that are different. The experiences that a photographer lives are funneled into his or her work. That's like inevitable. But at the same time, I think the difference is bigger between kinds of photography, like a documentary photographer compared to a commercial photographer. There's going to be like huge differences, while like a commercial photographer in the States, it's going to be pretty much the same as a commercial photographer in Italy, I guess. The big difference that I see is probably the attitude towards the value of photography. Like in the States, there is this idea that photography is something that has value, while in Italy it's still more something that you do because you like it, and why would you want to get paid? A lot of people still think that. Thankfully, not all of them. But I think like being comfortable with asking money for what you're worth, it's something that's more common, I guess, on the other side of the ocean than in Italy. But I mean, it's good that we get to learn from each other, I guess. Well, the food, the wine, the people, I guess. And I'm curious about a place that I've been wanting to visit for a long time, and I never got the occasion to go there. I'm curious to see places like we are planning on road tripping for a little bit after the festival is over, to like relax and see places and meet people and possibly eat all the food we can take and drink amazing wine. So I'm really looking forward to being there.